I actually think he's spot on about the bell curve being the expectation. I don't think, for instance, we had, I can't resist drawing there.
No question.
You know, we had this, and by the way, this is a great example of where not all grades equal, because if any of you have seen, in the sense of like skill sets, because if any of you have ever seen me draw, this is supposed to be like a normal curve, okay? And Connie, the one that you had drawn had something like it kind of shifted. I can't even do it, but it skewed it over sort of this way, like that, right? And what I well, forgive the art, but what I would say is that it should be skewed, and that's really off. But the whole curve should be skewed over to the right.
So shifted.
It's shifted because people have learned stuff. But I still think you're always going to have, again, whatever you decide, if this is outstanding out here and this is your B's in here, etc. I think that's just, you know, I don't see it as my expectation. You know, you said you envisioned an A for every student. I don't envision an A. I mean, I have had classes where almost every student has gotten an A, particularly if it's an upper level class that's pretty small and it's kind of a self-selected group. I think particularly when I have a large group, and particularly at a lower level class, I expect the spread to be bigger. Basically, I also think that the whole idea of, you know, this myth between the norm reference versus criteria, I think is a very good point. That whatever criteria you set, it's going to be based in part, you're comparing to some level of knowledge of some people somewhere or something in terms of what is good or outstanding. At least in my mind, that's kind of the way it works. And actually, I don't think that norm referencing should send to the student that I don't value you as a person. I think there's a really important distinction to me. I had a physics professor when I was an undergraduate who was a bit of a tyrant. He would sit there when he would give exams, and he would literally, and my students heard me say this, 2 minutes left. Minute and 50, 90 seconds left, and I wanted to strangle him. But that professor taught me two very important things. One thing is that he told me one time, he said, Matt, I had gone to him, I had complained about a grade, I had come out of his class crying before, okay, as a 20-some-year-old man, going home to my wife crying about physics. I won't ask how many of you have cried about physics. But I did it. And, you know, one day, Professor Shivani said to me, he said, Matt, when are you going to learn to just do your best and trust God for the result? And that was actually a really important thing for me to kind of come to grips with. There are some things that I'm not going to be great at. I can give it my best shot, and I just have to live with it. That was important for me. The other thing interesting about him is that even though I have so many stories about him, we'd be here all night. But even though I don't even know what possessed me to do this, but I apparently asked him to write a recommendation letter for me for graduate school. And I remember very distinctly the whole time I was in the interview thinking, oh, someone's going to ask me about that C I got in physics. You know, at the end of that day, the person that I eventually went to work with on my PhD said, I said to her, I said, you know, I was so worried that someone was going to ask me about that grade. She said, oh, no. She said, actually, your physics professor says you walk on water. And I thought, whoa, you know, what in the world happened? So all of that is to say, students, there may be times when you think that your professors are being hard on you, and hopefully it's, in the end, something that you'll come to see as a good thing in the end. I guess that's it.